Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM, back at it again with another homebrew review today. And in today's episode, I'm actually going to be going over the second portion of the complete Martialist Handbook by Benjamin Huffman and Ross Leiser. And in today's episode, we're going over the fighter subclasses that are introduced into this book. Now, like I said in my previous episode, that there is some more harshness in this review, but if you want to check out the reason for that, please go watch my first video on the Barbarian subclass to find out why. But without further ado, let's get started. So, the first fighter subclass we got here is the Combat Medic. And I don't really have to explain many of its abilities, because it's essentially the Circle of Dreams druid, but for fighter. So you get proficiency in the medicine skill, and if you already have proficiency in the medicine skill, you gain expertise in the medicine skill. And battlefield medicine, you have a number of d6s equal to your fighter level. And as an action, you can heal a willing creature you could touch, or within your reach, and you heal them for the number of dice expended, plus your wisdom. Or you can use an action to expend 2 dice and end either paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned. And the dice pool regains 1 expended die whenever you finish a short or long rest, and all when you finish a long rest. Then you get Doctor of War at 7th level, where when you expend dice from your Battlefield Medicine feature, as part of your action, you can make a weapon attack as a bonus action. Never mind that you can do this with 2 weapon fighting as it is, but that's beside the point. Triage Expert, where you have advantage on initiative rolls and can take the dash action as a bonus action on your turn. Mind you, rogues can get this ability at level 1 or 2. So, 8 to 9 levels late, a little sad. And you only get the dash action. And 15th level, you get Battlefield Surgery, where when you finish a short rest, your Battlefield Medicine dice pool now regains 1 plus your Wisdom modifier dice with a minimum of 2. And you can use an action to expend 3 dice from the pool and return a creature within 5 feet of you to life with 1 hit point, provided the creature has died within the last minute. Any creature has returned in lifeless waste suffers 1 level of exhaustion. And finally, at level 18, you get Angel of Mercy, where when you roll to restore hit points with Battlefield Medicine, you add your Wisdom modifier to each die rolled rather than the total, and your Example of Mercy diminishes. So when you end your turn without having made an attack roll or dealt damage to any creature this turn, attacks made against you have disadvantage until the start of your next turn. So I think having a dedicated healer subclass for the fighter is an interesting tactic, but the problem with it is that it has very little range, because not a lot of weapons have the reach property, and on top of that, it requires you to use your action to heal, similar to the Dreams Druid. And also, they're just d6s. d6s aren't going to heal that much. And you can only spend half of your fighter. That's one important thing I forgot to mention here in Battlefield Medicine. The maximum number of dice you could spend at once is half your fighter level. Meaning at level 20, you can only heal about as much as a fireball can deal, if not slightly more, which is terrible. If this was basically just lay on hands, this would be a little bit better, but then again, that would just be taking the paladin's place. Again, Doctor of War and Triage Expert, not that much to write home about, since 2 weapon fighting can do what Doctor of War already does. Triage Expert, rogues already get that at level 2, so, and they get 2 additional options with the dash as opposed to just the dash. The Battlefield Surgery is fine, and also having basically a Revivify at the cost of 3 is interesting. But you're also expending your action and 3 dice, which I guess is better than spending a spell slot But if you're supposed to be a damage dealer and you're wasting your entire action to do this, it's not that good. And finally, Angel of Mercy. Having not be able to attack anything, even though your 7th level feature allows you to do it when you use the one feature that it is granted to you that allows you to not do damage this turn, it seems kind of counterintuitive. It's like, okay, so at level 7, now I can heal and I can do damage if I'm not using 2-weapon fighting. But then at 18th level, which, by the way, at this point your wizards can turn people into dragons permanently, you have the option of either dealing damage and being somewhat more useful, or having a situation where you sit there and do nothing and you basically get the dodge action. Okay. No, this is terrible. Firstly, I think medical training's fine, it's just a ribbon feature. Make battlefield medicine a number of, like, D10s equal to your fighter level, or maybe even, twice your fighter level. That'd be better. It might not be on par with the paladins lay on hands, but the possibility of getting at least 200 HP out of it at maximum, and then being able to heal 100 HP plus your wisdom modifier, along with the ability of battlefield surgery, is nice. Again, Doctor of War, this only works if you're not using 2-weapon fighting. I would just say, when you use battlefield medicine, you can take the attack action as a bonus action this turn, and this way you can action surge, and then you action attack again. I think that'd be a little bit better. Triage expert, just make this cunning action. Dash, disengage, or hide. Make this dash, disengage, or dodge. This would be a lot better. Battlefield surgery, I think, is interesting. I think it should just be you regain all of your dice on a short rest at this point, and then gain this feature where you can basically use Revivify. This way you can use your healing more as a short rest healing as opposed to a long rest healing. And finally, Angel of Mercy, I do like adding Wisdom to each of your die, meaning if you were to heal like 5d10, you would add 5d10, and if your Wisdom is a +3, you would add 5d10, and then you would add 3 to each of the d10s separately, and add that to the total. I think that's interesting. But then this entire last portion of not needing to deal damage in order to get this benefit, just allow them to take the dodge action whenever they use their battlefield medicine. Just give them the dodge action. It's not going to kill anything. Next up is the Crusader subclass, and the best way I could describe this is basically a third caster cleric, because you get a cleric domain. You get the third caster spell table. You can prepare equal to your wisdom, and your wisdom is your spellcasting modifier. You get domain spells, and you can use a holy symbol, and you get your domain spells of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at 3rd, 7th, 13th, and 19th level. But you never get your 5th level domain spells because, obviously you can't cast 5th level spells, which is kind of terrible. You also get Channel Divinity. So when you use your Channel Divinity, it's the standard thing. Beginning at 15th level, you can use your Channel Divinity twice per short or long, or twice between rests. Silence Heathens as an action. Present your holy symbol. Enemies within 10 feet of you. Charisma save. If they fail, they are silenced for a minute. At the start of each of its turns, an affected creature can repeat the saving throw and end the effect on a success. A silenced creature cannot produce verbal sounds or provide the verbal component for spells. Any feature that requires it to speak or otherwise make verbal sound is unable to do so while silenced. And the March of War. At 7th level, you can guide your compatriots towards the Divine Calling. As an action, choose a number of willing creatures within 30 feet of you, equal to your wisdom, and each creature ignores difficult terrain, gains the benefit of Water Walk for an hour, and it ends early if you become unconscious or die or choose to end it. Glorious Battalion. When you take the attack action and hit one or more creatures with your weapon attacks, You have advantage on the next saving throw you make against one of the creature's effects before the start of your turn. So basically, if you hit the same creature more than once, or you hit multiple creatures each once, you gain advantage on the next saving throw of either the creature you hit multiple times or one of the creatures that you hit. Divine Surge. When you use your action surge, enemy creatures within 10 feet of you take 2d8 radiant damage, and you and ally creatures within 10 feet regain 2d8 hit points. And at 18th level, you gain your Divine Domain 17th level feature. So we already have the Eldritch Knight for this. We already have the Eldritch Knight in terms of the spellcasting class. And even then, it's kind of okay, because it has access to the wizard list. But the cleric list is just not that good outside of guidance and aid and bless. The rest of them are basically just healing spells. Oh, and also Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians is pretty good. But the fact that Spirit Guardians, you're not going to be able to get that until level 13 when clerics are getting, I think it's a 3rd level spell. It might be a 2nd level. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But the fact that you have to wait so long to get the good spells, and even then you'd only have access to this many spells and cantrips. And also you could just pick a Divine Domain. So if you wanted to do this, you could easily just play a cleric and then multi-class 2 levels into fighter and basically get the same benefit. Except you'd get pretty much all of your domain spells. You just wouldn't get your level 20 cleric ability of Divine Intervention, but who cares at that point? Because you're essentially getting 5th level spells with very limited spell slot mitigation, or slowing down of your spell slot progression. But you're also getting Action Surge, Second Wind, a fighting style that fits with you. Yeah. So, if you just wanted to play a Crusader, just play a Cleric with 2 levels in Fighter. It's the same thing. Or hell, just play a Paladin. Paladin is just better than this. Not by much, but better than this. I do like the Glorious Bastion and the Divine Surge features. I will say that those are pretty nice. And the Silence the Heathens, this should definitely have been like a cleric thing. This definitely should have been like a cleric or like a Oath of the Watchers, I think is what that Paladin subclass is. That makes it so creatures that are not native to your plane just get completely screwed over. This would have been a really good one to give them, maybe. Or also Twilight Clerics. This would have been really fun, but it is what it is. Gladiator. With Gladiator, it's what you think it is. It's a Gladiator. So you get your choice of either Athletics, Intimidation, Performance, Persuasion to get proficiency in, and you gain 1 level of your choice, or 1 language of your choice, apologies. Also at 3rd level, you get Mono y Mono Mark, where when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you mark them for a minute. And it ends early if you attack another creature, become incapacitated, or die, or someone else marks the creature. Now, this just says marks the creature. This means, at least to me, this means that anything else that specifically says that it marks a creature means that it cancels this out. So if your ranger has favored foe and marks the creature with that, your mono mark goes away. If they use Hunter's Mark, it goes away. If your Cavalier Fighter uses their Companion's Mark ability, it goes away. So this is really a one-on-one mark. Kinda sucks for team play, and it's very much a team game, so it's a bit strange. I would just say if another person uses the Mono a Mono mark, but I guess this is just for thematics. If the creature makes an attack against a creature other than you, you have advantage on all weapon attacks against that creature until the end of your next turn, and you gain a special reaction that you can use once each round to make 1 weapon attack against the marked creature when it moves out of your reach or attacks a creature other than you. And you cannot use this special reaction on your normal reaction. Oh, and your normal reaction on the same turn. So basically, this is I am in an arena with you. I hit you. You are now marked. If you attack anyone other than me, I get to attack you using my special reaction, but on top of that, I get advantage on all my attacks until the end of my next turn, and there's nothing you could do about it. Roar the Crowd at 7th level. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can use a bonus action to do Showboat, and you choose a number of hostile creatures within 15. 15 what? Don't know. It just says 15. Choose a number of hostile creatures within 15 up to the number of friendly creatures within 15 feet. Don't know why that's a typo and why it's still there. Should have been proofread. So then chosen creatures must succeed a Wisdom save or take psychic damage equal to a d6 plus your fighter level. And you can use this charisma modifier a number of times each long rest. So what I'm thinking is that you could choose creatures within 15 feet of you equal to the number of allies within 15 feet of you. So if you have 3 allies within 15 feet, you can choose 3 enemies within 15 feet. This would have just been better if you could just choose creatures equal to your charisma modifier within 15 feet, but that might just be a typo. Building the Heat. When you deal damage, building the Heat at 10th level, when you deal damage to the target of your mono mark, roll twice. You roll twice and use the higher result. And when the target of your mono mark deals damage to a creature other than you, it rolls the damage twice and uses the lower result. So basically this is like disadvantage and advantage on damage rolls. It's not that much of a difference, it's essentially just re-rolling 1s and 2s. And then again, it's also re-rolling high numbers. So you're basically just it's the same damage average regardless, so it's not really doing all that much for you. Big Finish at 15th level. When you deal damage to a creature with a weapon attack and its remaining hit points immediately afterward are equal to or less than your fighter level plus your charisma ability score. So at this point, if you have a +3 charisma, that's, let's say, 16 charisma. If they have 31 HP or less, they are just reduced to 0 hit points once per short or long rest. Okay, it's pretty alright. A little bit late. I would prefer this like somewhere at the 10th level mark, because that's alright. That's alright. And finally, signature move, where you have mastered. When you learn this feature, you get to name your signature move, and as an action, you could use your signature move. You move up to twice your movement speed. During this movement, your jumping distance are tripled. You gain temporary hit points equal to your fire level plus your charisma score. Yes, babe. What's up, babe? Hi. What's up? Mm. Squishy, squishy. Love you. No, you're okay. Don't even. Apologies for that. Anyway, where was I? Yes, so signature move. You gain temporary hit points equal to your fighter level plus your charisma ability score. And finally, when you take the attack action, your final weapon attack, as part of the attack action, has advantage and deals additional damage equal to your charisma ability score. And you regain this use once you roll initiative again. Okay, I think mono mark really hinders group play or cooperative play because it just says if anyone else marks it, meaning anything that specifically states mark in then like its ability text or its spell text, it just gets rid of it. It gets rid of your mark. You're done. And sure, you can do this as many times as you want. There's not a restriction. It still kind of sucks. Roar the Crowd, other than like a few wording issues, the damage is just too low. A D6 plus your fighter level a number of times equal to charisma as a bonus action. I mean, sure, and you could do it to multiple people, but it's a 15-foot radius. It's not that big. And build the heat. Again, this is just advantage or disadvantage on damage rolls. It's not all that effective. And it would just be better if they dealt, like you dealt double damage and they dealt half damage. That would have been a lot better, I guess. It's essentially giving you a critical hit. But I guess I would have been quote-unquote too strong at this level, despite crit fishing builds not really being all that effective anyway. 15th level, this is a bit odd. So when you deal damage with a weapon attack and it's remaining, sorry, this isn't the one I'm confused about. Never mind. We're good. So yeah, I think this is fine. This is Big Finish needs to be a little bit closer to the lower levels because I think it comes in a little too late. Because going that low of HP for a boss monster is not really going to happen all that much. It's just kind of, especially it's going to get annoying at the table if after you hear the DM say that the creature's bloodied, you hear the fighter going, is he below 20, is he below 31 HP yet? Well, what about now? Is he now? Huh? What about now? Hmm? It's like, that's just going to get annoying every single turn. Especially since you have to ask it after every single attack. And also, it's so weird. You can use it, but it doesn't tell you when you can use it. It states that immediately after the creature is reduced to below that threshold, you can use it, but how are you supposed to know that if the DM doesn't tell you? And he's not obligated to tell you the HP. So this would just have been better if instead of saying you can use it, once it reaches that thing, this ability triggers. That would have been a lot better, but then again, I guess they're trying to make it so that you don't use it early on a goon, and then you could use it on the big boss monster. But at that moment, why not just tie it to your mark? Why not just tie it to the mark? Everything else seems to be tied to the mark. Like build the heat. Build the heat is pretty much the only one that's built around this mark, and it seems like the only one that makes somewhat of an attempt to keep the theme going of the gladiator. Big Finish would have been better if it was at like 10th level. Build the Heat was at 7th level. And Roar the Crowd was just an additional 3rd level feature that you could do. And then Big Finish would be like, if a creature marked with your mono a mono mark drops below this threshold, they die. Like, they just go to 0 hit points. That would have been a lot better. This way, you can't use it on goons, you can only use it on your mark target. And signature move, regaining it on initiative is fine, but also, some of these effects just are not that good. Twice your movement speed, and it's also twice your base movement speed, which is very, very important because what does it mean to have a base movement speed? To me, when I hear base movement speed, that means movement speed that your race has with no other augmentations. Meaning, if you're a human monk and you multi-class somehow into this, don't know how, well, let's just say for the sake of brevity, if you have 60 feet of movement speed from monk and you go into signature move, this would mean that instead of getting double your movement speed of 60 feet to 120, you would get double your 30 base movement speed to 60. At least that's what it is to me. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments section. And again, that's just an example. But I assume what this is meant to be saying is if you have things like haste on you or the dash action, this essentially gives you the dash action again, but only adds your base movement speed on top of it, so 30 feet. Temporary hit points, it's not really enough. I mean, sure, at 18 plus at most like a 20, so you're at most getting 38 temporary hit points. It's alright, I guess. Your final weapon attack. So this was the part that confused me. When you take the attack action, doesn't say when you take the attack action, it says take the attack action. Your final weapon attack as part of the attack action has advantage and deals damage equal to your charisma mod, or charisma score. What this says to me is that you're essentially hitting them with your last hit, and that is the hardest hit, which is fine. And, yep, okay, just want to make sure. Yep, finally, we got the Gunslinger. You gain proficiency with a gaming set of your choice and Tinker's Tools and learn one language of your choice. And at 3rd level, you also get True Grit. Oh, I'm sorry. So the best way I can describe the Gunslinger is a washed-down version of the Matthew Mercer's Gunslinger. Because he gets rid of all the tricks and cool things you can do and just kind of puts them into features. Which kind of sucks, so... And also, very interesting thing here, it doesn't give you proficiency in firearms, funny enough. You gain proficiency with one gaming set of your choice, with Tinker's Tools, and one language. You don't actually gain proficiency in firearms. Strange. I guess they're just assuming that you would already have proficiency in firearms, but, you know, better safe than sorry. So, True Grit. You have 3 grit points, and you can expend grit points to do one of the deeds, which are special things that the Gunslinger can use. You have Fan the Hammer, where once per turn, you can make a ranged weapon attack with a 6-shooter. Once per turn, when you make a ranged weapon attack with a 6-shooter and miss, you can expend 1 grit to make another attack with a 6-shooter as part of the same action. So, okay, question. This says make another attack, meaning you essentially only get 1 attack, but if you already shot... Oh, no, sorry. Never mind. My question's null and void, because I was going to say when you make a ranged attack with a 6-shooter. Also, what's a 6-shooter? Please define a 6-shooter, because there's no 6-shooter in the DMG in terms of firearms. So please explain to me what a 6-shooter is. If you meant pistol or palm pistol or something of that, or like a flintlock pistol, please say that. Because as far as I'm aware, there's no 6-shooter in the DMG. If there is, please comment down below, let me know the page number, and I will definitely put that in the description or in the pinned comment correcting myself. Fast Hands. Expend 1 grit and take when you take the attack action and ignore the loitering property of black powder weapons this turn. Once again, what's a black powder weapon? Obviously everyone knows a musket, so like what if you're in a modern setting and you're using this? A lot of them don't use black powder, they use bullets, which are not black powder. Yes, they have black powder in the case, but they, by definition, are not black powder guns, because they don't use black powder as the ignition source, where you had to jam the ramrock down, like you had to do with muskets. So please define. Iron Sights. Expend 1 grit point before you make a weapon attack with a ranged weapon, and you have advantage on the roll. You gain any expended grit when you score a critical hit, or you regain an expended grit when you score a crit, and you regain all of them when you finish a short or long rest. Alright, at 7th level, you basically can cast Find Steed after 10 minutes. You just ritual cast Find Steed, whatever. Sown Oats. At 10th level, the number of grit that you can possess is now equal to your charisma modifier, which it should have been just to begin with, but whatever. In addition, you have to make a hard choice about which side. You must choose between the black hat or the white deed. So this is another choice where if you choose the black hat, when you make a deception, intimidation, or stealth check, you can expend a grit to gain advantage. While if you're part of the white hat, when you make an investigation, insight, or persuasion, you can expend 1 grit to gain advantage. So basically, it's just roleplay. The whole second portion of Sonos is just a roleplay. Trick shot. Trick shot is when a creature you can see makes a ranged weapon attack, you can use your reaction to shoot the attack out of the air. And you may choose to do so after the d20 roll is made, but before the DM says whether or not the attack hits. And when you do make a weapon attack with a black powder weapon, if your result is greater than the triggering attack misses. So basically, if a guy rolls to hit another guy with a hand crossbow and rolls a 16, you can use Trick Shot, and if you roll a 16 or higher, the attack misses. Deadeye, at 18th level, you score a critical hit with a 19 or 20. Crit fishing builds, not good. Not this late. This needed to be like a 3rd level feature. Not even then, it's not that good. It needs to be greater than that. It needs to progressively get more. Even then, crit fishing isn't that good because it only increases your DPR on average by like 1 or 2 points of damage. So, just end of the road. You gain a new deed based on which choice you chose. So, if you chose the black hat, you get Hero Stopper, where when you score a critical hit with a gun, you can expend 1 grip point and roll your attack's damage die 3 times and add them together instead of twice. So basically, you just deal 3 times damage instead of 2 times damage for a crit. And if you chose the white hat, you gain Villain Dropper, where when you score a critical hit with a weapon, expend 1 grip point, and if you do, all attacks against that creature before the start of your next turn have advantage. Doesn't specify just you, meaning that everyone can get advantage, which is very, very nice. Very, very nice. Overall, I think that the fighter subclasses, in terms of usefulness and fun, in my opinion, we'll start from the bottom. We're definitely gonna go with the Crusader here. It's basically just Paladin Light. It's in Paladin Light, like the Crusader is already a Paladin Light, and the Paladin is already a light version of the Cleric. I apologize. So having a light of a light is you're watering it down too much. And also the fact that your 18th level ability is a 17th level feature, ugh, my man, not good. We already have a third caster in here. I meant a third caster, apologies. A third caster in the fighter subclass. We don't need another one, especially not one this week. Second up, I would have to say the Gunslinger, because overall, this is just a nerf from Matthew Mercer's version. But then again, Matthew Mercer's not known for having good balanced homebrew. He's either way too weak or way too strong, or one of the two, because he doesn't understand the mechanics all that well. Oath of the Sea, Oath of the Open Sea Paladin, I'm looking at you. I'd say next up would probably be the Gladiator, because I think the Gladiator, with the mono mark and with like some changes and the signature move in general, I think it's a fine subclass. Definitely not one that I would recommend taking over most other subclasses, but it's alright. And the only one that I think is offering anything different is the Combat Medic, but even then I don't think I'd put this as a good fighter subclass. Overall, on the scale, I think none of these get out of the F tier, except for maybe the Gladiator, who might slip into low D tier. Like, he's just barely better than Champion. But not by much. Not by much. But with that out of the way, I hope you guys liked the video. Please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any suggestions of what homebrew I should be reviewing after I'm done with the Martialist Handbook, please leave a comment down below telling me what I should review. And I will see you all in the next video, where I will be covering the Ranger subclasses and seeing how they fare. Latest.